It's Monday, December 5. In the headlines, a transport minister speaks against the sale of driver's licenses. Regionally, calls for more cashless payment methods. And in sports, news on cricket and or Qatar FIFA World Cup 2022 update. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Minister of Transport and Mining, Audley Shaw, says Jamaicans should not buy their driver's licenses. In Jamaica, anyone over the age of 17 may apply for a driver's license.
All of our young people who are waiting to get their licenses, make sure you get your training, engage with a training company, learn to drive properly, go and do your test, pay your fee at the tax office, do your test and get your driver's license without having to pay $30,000.
The minister was speaking at a recent JIS think tank. According to the law, it is mandatory for all applicants to complete a driving test. During a driving test, individuals are required to read a sentence, complete a written test. Knowledge of vehicle mechanics will also be tested for general license applicants. Do a yard test where the applicant's ability to start on a gradient, parallel park, and reverse will be assessed. Do a road test where the applicant's observance of the road codes as well as driving skills will be assessed. According to the Island Traffic Authority, persons with disabilities complete the same assessment process outlined. However, special arrangements are made where necessary. Applicants with disabilities involving their limbs, for example, paraplegics, are required to retrofit their vehicles to complete the driving test. Certificates of competence are issued to the collectorate, most convenient to the applicant, and payment of a license fee is required. The Transport Minister says steps are being taken to stop the illegal sale of driver's licenses by employees of the ministry.
That is going to be cut out. And the people who are going to assist us to cut it out are the persons who require their licenses. Do not pay for your license other than the fee that you pay at the to the tax office. You pay no other fee.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force's fleet of vehicles have been given a boost in numbers. 25 new vehicles have been added at a cost of $176 million. A total of 15 L200 Mitsubishi pickups and 10 Toyota Hilux pickups were handed over at the Police Commissioner's office in Kingston last week. Speaking at the ceremony, Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Jang said the investment will directly benefit police officers by enabling them to effectively carry out their duties on the front line. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government has made calculated decisions to effectively manage the affairs of the country and has positioned it for economic growth. One move is the acquisition of 50 new trucks and 10 motorcycles for the National Solid Waste Management Authority, the NSWMA. Speaking at the handover ceremony last week, Mr. Holness said this represents a major achievement in building the capacity of the NSWMA.
The vehicles, valued at approximately $6.9 million, will bolster the operations and capabilities of the agency. They were handed over during a ceremony at the National Heroes Park in Kingston.
So today, we are standing here as a result of those decisions, making the point that we came through a pandemic, we are recovering, the country has forgotten about the pandemic already, we are looking forward to a great future, and we are able to continue the capital expenditure of not just the NSWMA, but right across all sectors in Jamaica.
Prime Minister Holness pointed out that between 2016 and 2020, a total of 65 new garbage trucks were purchased. He also addressed the issue of individual responsibility in the disposal of garbage.
And as you drive through Jamaica, it is very sad. You would want to enjoy the natural greenery, but it is so interrupted with plastics and other debris strewn along our beautiful scenery, along our roads. Who do we blame for that?
For his part, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Desmond McKenzie said in addition to the trucks, technology will be introduced to garbage collection.
We are now in the new financial year going to introduce technology in sweep cleaning. We're going to be bringing at least 10 of these sweep cleaning machines into the system to be a part of the new revolutionary approach to garbage collection and street sweeping in the country.
Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, says the acquisition will help to improve the quality of life of Jamaicans. He linked the purchase of the new garbage trucks to the ongoing economic recovery of the country.
When we pursue policies that are sustainable, that bring our debt down and therefore the cost of servicing that debt, when we reform our public sector to streamline compensation and the total cost of the wage bill, all of those are designed to ensure that we can generate sufficient fiscal space to allocate to capital expenditure that improves the quality of life.
Of the 50, a total of 12 trucks will be at the Western Parks and Market Waste Management Limited, 10 for the Metropolitan Parks and Market Waste Management Limited, 10 to the Southern Parks and Markets Waste Management Limited, and 10 for Northeastern Parks and Markets Waste Management Limited, while the remaining 8 will form part of a roving team. For the news on PBCJ, I am Carla Thomas Newitt.
In the business report, we begin with a business tip courtesy of Sterling Asset Management. We also have your regular market updates from Danita Rodney.
My name is Christine Rankin, Manager, Personal Financial Planning at Sterling Asset Management. Diversification is a strategy that mixes a variety of investments within your portfolio to reduce risk. In other words, it's a strategy where you don't put all your eggs in one basket. By having a variety of investments, you protect yourself from losing too much if one thing goes wrong. A financial planner can guide you on which instruments work best for your personal financial goals. Diversifying is not just having a variety of assets, but ensuring that the assets are not all the same. Spreading your investments over different companies and economic sectors is an example of diversification. If you had multiple stocks or bonds, but they were all from the same industry or country, then you are not truly diversified. To ensure you are properly diversified, the investments you hold should be from different industries, asset classes, and geographic regions. Diversification protects you because if one area of your portfolio is performing poorly or reacting negatively to market conditions, another aspect of your portfolio would hopefully be reacting in the opposite way, thereby smoothing out your returns, reducing your overall portfolio risk, and helping to improve long-term portfolio performance. We have no magic crystal ball to predict the future, but through diversification, an investor protects themselves from having to make rash decisions when the unpredictable occurs and to navigate turbulent market conditions. This has been your biz tip from Sterling Asset Management.
For your market updates, in foreign exchange trading for Friday, December 2, the US dollar sold for an average of $154.51. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $115.39. The pound sterling traded for $189.81. And the euro sold for an average of $164.33. In JSE trading, the JSE index declined by 1,596 points. The junior market index declined by 11 points. The combined market index declined by 1,594 points, and the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by 2,262 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 93 stocks, of which 42 advanced, 42 declined, and 9 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, CAC 2000 9.5% cumulative redeemable preference shares, and Cargo Handlers Limited. Stocks declined for AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Barista Investments Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Trading firm were Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited, Epley 7.50% preference shares due 2024, and Epley Limited 7.75% preference shares. The overall volume leaders were JMMB Group Limited 7.0%, Dollar Financial Services Limited, and Trans Jamaican Highway Limited, all with over 1 million units. In regional stocks, on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, Clico Investment Fund was the only active security posting over 3,000 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, First Caribbean International Bank was the volume leader with over 100,000 shares. They were followed by Insurance Corporation of Barbados Limited with 50,000 shares and Goddard Enterprises Limited with over 1,000 shares being traded. In regional business, there is a growing interest in Barbados in the digital financial sector. This was disclosed by country manager of Z-Money Barbados Limited, a fintech company that provides remittance services to the Caribbean. Trevor Thorpe reports.
Z-Money is the Caribbean subsidiary of ZPay and would be the bridge between the Caribbean and the global community. Barbados is the Caribbean headquarters of the operation. Z-Money will have 4 branches in Barbados and 10 kiosks staffed by Barbadians.
We have set up 4 branches, 4 brick and mortar branches. We also have 10 of our kiosks dispersed across the island. Now, these kiosks also serve to increase our distribution and will be open later as we go along to serve customers, which means that you do not only have to go into these 4 locations, but we have 10 additional sites that will be able to serve you anytime you receive your monies from abroad via MoneyGram.
Branches at Sheraton Centre and the Dome Mall are already open, and the recruitment of staff is in progress.
We currently have 5 local staff that we have employed. We're working towards closing the year with 12 persons. We so far, after our last round of interviews, were able to get 4 new persons to join. So we are in the process of conducting another set to make sure that we can have the additional 5 persons before the end of year.
Z-Money Barbados Limited is a remittance operation, and product quality manager Richie Bonnet said other services will be added by the end of the first quarter of next year.
We are a remittance to wallet based company. That really is our strength. We are convenience. We're focused on convenience. Being able to receive your remittances directly at the convenience of your home, sitting at home, chilling with your family, your friends. This is really what we're about.
The Z-Money branches in Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica and Grenada will be administered from the Barbados office.
In international business, the G7 price cap on Russian oil came into full force on Monday, December 5, as the West tries to limit Moscow's ability to finance its war in Ukraine, though Russia has said it will not abide by the measure even if it has to cut production. More from this Reuters report.
Tankers loading at Russian ports on Monday face an uncertain voyage. A price cap on the country's oil kicked in that day. It's been imposed by the G7 group of nations, the European Union and Australia. The cap sets a maximum price of $60 per barrel for oil transported by sea. Shippers will only be able to take Russian crude to third countries using G7 or EU tankers and insurance companies if the price is below that level. That could make it difficult for Moscow to sell its oil for a higher price. Western capitals hope that will limit the Kremlin's ability to fund its war in Ukraine. However, Russia is sounding defiant. On Sunday, it said it wouldn't sell oil that is subject to the cap, even if that means reducing production. Russia is expected to issue a decree that will, in effect, ban export to companies and countries that apply the cap. Moscow can probably also still rely on help from China. Russia's RIA news agency says Beijing has promised to maintain cooperation on energy supplies. Now the EU and G7 will review the cap level every 2 months, starting in mid-January. A similar cap on petroleum products will come into force in early February.
In market data for oil prices rose 3% after OPEC nations held their output targets steady ahead of a European Union ban and the start of a G7 price cap on Russian crude. Brent crude futures were up $2.53 at $88.10 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained $2.40 to $82.38 a barrel. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Denita Rodney.
In regional news, the Barbadian government is revealing more plans to introduce child protection legislation. Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Kirk Humphrey addressed the issue at the National HIV/AIDS Commission's service on Sunday. Trevor Thorpe reports.
The new legislation being proposed comes as government stresses its commitment to the fight against HIV and AIDS. Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Kirk Humphrey insists government cannot do it alone.
We sat down to do a number of things. Before the end of next year, we will have child protection legislation for the first time in Barbados. We're going to have legislation that treats to the elderly. We're going to have legislation that treats to the disabled. And we're going to amalgamate social services to make it better to serve people. But this is a lot of work with very few hands. If the PM were here, she would say, many hands make light work. And so we need to be able to do so through partnership. And I do hope we can have the partnerships with all the persons who are in this place, because this is such an important work for us.
In the Bahamas, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism is stressing the need for the adaptation of more cashless and contactless payment methods. More in this report.
While appearing as a guest at the World Travel and Tourism Global Summit, Cooper said while cash is still key, in a tourist environment, cashless means of payments are paramount.
We are moving to the point where you can use a mobile wallet. Everyone has a digital phone or cell phone that you can use using a wallet, and we're moving steadily towards that. On the issue of contact, we must always remember that tourism is a people business. Yeah. So talking with that vendor on the beach in Exuma, Bahamas is a part of the experience. And whilst there is the convenience and the hassle-free factor, and we want to eliminate the bureaucracy, I think a part of experiencing the people in the location that you visit is a part of the love that people have for our country.
The Deputy Prime Minister led a delegation to the summit in Saudi Arabia, where they discussed the post-COVID success of tourism throughout the Bahamas. Cooper also explained what he sees for tourism in the future.
I think we're going to see more digital e-visas. We're going to see more waivers of visas from places like the Kingdom to the Caribbean, where you can have multi-destination travel around the Caribbean in a seamless way.
The European Union ambassador to Guyana, Ren Vanez, has praised Guyana's attempts to peacefully resolve the territorial border controversy with neighboring Venezuela. After comparing the issue to that which caused the Russia-Ukraine war, Van Nez says taking it to the International Court of Justice is a peaceful path.
As Russia continues to infringe on international law, the recipient of the award tonight has made it very clear that that is relevant for Guyana, as you have your own issues with legal order when it comes, for example, to the border with Venezuela. So now that those borders are being disputed, Guyana chooses the path of finding a peaceful resolution under international law through the International Court of Justice. And that's why I'm really proud to see every day that the European Union is more united than ever in supporting Ukraine. And we can only have that support and continue that support if we have the support of like-minded countries in the world, like Guyana.
The Antiguan government is planning to use technology to create a safe city in Antigua and Barbuda. More from this ABS report.
Information Minister, the Honorable Melford Nicholas, says it would help address vandalism of schools, bus stops, and other public infrastructure.
Already, we would have replaced in excess of 120 camera positions for the Royal Police Force of Antigua and the other security forces. We would have expanded the monitoring stations, both at the headquarters and the American Road, as well as at the ONDCP and at the Army themselves. So each of them have the opportunity to look at surveillance, but they're not cameras in every location.
He says it will be a significant expenditure and will take a while before the project is completed.
Our focus now from the ministry is to be able to equip the schools, because of course the schools have been, as you would know, an area where there's been significant vandalism as well.
Yeah.
So schools, the highways, these bus stops, the major intersections, ultimately we will get there.
The unit that monitors women's clothing in Iran, the so-called morality police, has been suspended following months of protests. The unrest was sparked by the death of 22-year-old Masha Amini in September after being arrested for allegedly violating a dress code. More from Al Jazeera.
Officially called the Guidance Patrol, these green and white minivans are a familiar sight cruising the streets. The special force was established in 2006. Its only job to park at major intersections and thoroughfares to issue warnings to women deemed to be flouting Iran's religious dress codes. According to the Attorney General, the same institution that set up the morality police has shut it down. On Saturday, a statement published in a local newspaper announced the judiciary is already working on a draft proposal for amendments to how authorities enforce laws pertaining to chastity and hijab. Following recent events, the relevant bodies are looking for a prudent solution. Since the death of Mahsa Amini in a detention facility in September, protests have erupted across the country, many of which have turned violent. Human rights groups say more than 440 people have been killed and another 17,000 arrested. The Interior Ministry puts the death toll at 200, including security forces. Mahsa's death has sparked a massive outcry. Some women are publicly snubbing the headscarf that has been compulsory for women and girls as young as the age of 7 since 1983. Analysts say it's the direct result of a change in societal norms.
What we've witnessed in Tehran in recent days is women coming out in public without their hijab, and they're not being confronted by authorities. When you can't enforce a law, then eventually this rule will be put aside. I think the change will mostly happen in methods of enforcement, but not changing the law.
According to the latest survey published by the parliament, 60 to 70% of Iranian women do not follow the Islamic dress code strictly in public. And since September, scenes like this have become common. While the issue of mandatory hijab is still very much a rule in Iran, the suspension of the so-called morality police could be seen as a move by authorities to appease women. The question now is, will it be enough?
In sports, Marquino Mindley is traveling to Australia as injury cover for the West Indies men's squad ahead of the second test in Adelaide. The right-arm fast bowler is due to arrive in Australia on Tuesday morning. The move follows news that all-rounder Raymond Reifer has been ruled out of the tour with a groin injury, and Kyle Mayers can no longer bowl in the series after suffering a strain to his right teres major. And Nkrumah Bonner has been ruled out of further participation in the current first test match due to concussion protocols after being struck on the helmet when batting in West Indies' first innings. Shamar Brooks replaced him as the concussion substitute. During the first-class championship earlier this year, the 27-year-old Mindley led Jamaica Scorpions' attack with 13 wickets at an average of 18. On the final day of the test at Perth Stadium on Sunday, Australia defeated West Indies by 164 runs. TTT Sports has the details on the match.
Australia today completed a 164-run victory over the West Indies in the first test at Perth. Needing an extraordinary batting performance to save the match, the West Indies resumed on fifth and final on 193 for 3, with captain Craig Brathwaite not out on 101. They progressed to 207 when they lost Kyle Mayers for 10 as he became Nathan Lyon's fourth wicket of the innings. 5 runs later, Brathwaite's resistance was broken as Lyon continued his demolition of the West Indies batting to leave the tourists hope of victory all but over. But Ruston Chance's 55 and a 43 from pacer Alzari Joseph offered some lower order fight, but in the end it was not enough as the West Indies were bowled out for 333, handing the Australians a 164-run victory. Nathan Lyon was the best of the home team bowlers, leading them to victory with 6 wickets for 128 runs. The second and final test of the series starts on Thursday in Adelaide.
Trinidad and Tobago will host the 2023 Commonwealth Youth Games from August 4 to 11, and the local organizing committee on Friday provided an update on what to expect. Kent Fuentes gives us the update.
Among the major changes for next year's Showpiece Commonwealth event will be the change in venue for athletics, which is now going to be staged at the Hazley Crawford Stadium.
We have some changes because originally athletics was scheduled to be held at the Dwight York Stadium, but the Hazley Crawford Stadium has been identified as the new venue for athletics. It is one of our main venues, fantastic venue. It has greater capacity and is easily accessible to more people given the location in the capital. This will mean even more of the local community coming to enjoy the games. Limited works are planned for the refurbishment of the facility. These are scheduled to be completed by May 2023.
Mr. Serrett adds the track at the Hazley Crawford Stadium would not be repaired, but cleaned and marked. And while track and field is being moved from Tobago, there are plans to shift other sports to the sister isle.
To ensure both islands benefit from a balanced distribution of activity, we are exploring in conjunction with the Commonwealth Games Federation and the relevant international federations changes to the venues for the Fast 5 netball and the Rugby Sevens. We are awaiting approval for these changes and will update very soon.
The Trinidad and Tobago Commonwealth Games Association also launched its new logo for the event, and the President Diane Henderson explained it incorporates our use of modern technology.
It features the Commonwealth Sports Celebration mark and the Trinidad and Tobago colors alongside our thumbprint, symbolizing how digital innovation and flexibility of the use have become part of our lives through the smart devices.
The logo also incorporates the makeup of our people and our island.
The logo also represents the twin island, Trinidad and Tobago, through its colors: the blue of the water, the sky around the islands, the red for the vibrancy of the youth, the green for growth of the island's development, and brown for the fertility and yellow for the warmth and friendliness of the people of the islands.
Kent Fuentes, TTT Sports.
Time now for the Qatar FIFA World Cup update.
On December 4, France won their game against Poland 3-1. England blanked Senegal 3-0. On December 5 at news time, the match between Japan and Croatia ended in a 1-1 draw, but Croatia won 3-1 on penalties.
And that's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.